Okay, so currently there's a thread on community that discusses using ExecuteSQL to generate JSON output. And I wanted to elaborate a little bit on the need for proper escaping when using this kind of technique. So I've got here a real simple table with a little bit of data that we can use as a sample to check out this sort of technique. Let's take a look at this, some SQL here. I'm going to assume that you're already familiar with using ExecuteSQL, and if you see something like this, it's going to make complete sense at a glance. It's true that I'm not taking the proper care to protect against name changes of fields and tables here. Hope you'll pardon that. That's just to keep things a little bit more simple as we go through this. All right, so basic query here returns the expected results below. Let's just start manipulating it by simplifying it to return a single field. And then let's soup it up a little bit by including a literal string that will be concatenated along with the results. And if you haven't done this before, it's a cool technique. Basically, your literal string is going to be single quote enclosed. So I'm going to put something like my name. If you were to happen to need a single quote in there, you'd have to put 2 single quotes in a row. That's the escaping mechanism for that type of quoted string there. And then you need a concatenation operator, which is a double pipe. And that will basically join this string along with this first name field in the output, like so. So once we see this possibility of sort of concatenating our own custom strings in there, it really does raise the possibility of, hey, is there some way we can use this to create valid JSON? So let's sort of move in that direction. I'm going to change to just say name, and I'm going to put some double quotes around name because we know we're going to need them for the JSON. See what that looks like. All right, looks a little better. We'll realize, of course, that we need double quotes around these values as well. So I'm going to add in 2 more double quote characters, one right there before the field, and I'll use the same literal string concatenation technique to add a double quote after it. And our data looks something like this. Looking pretty good. We could use some braces around this. So let's go ahead and add those in. And then we could bear to have these comma separated. So I'm going to change the record delimiter to a comma, and I'm also going to throw in a pilcrow so that I can still see this on individual lines. We get something like that. It's looking really, really good. I'm sure some of you are seeing a problem that's about to happen in a moment when we try to use this as JSON, and we'll get to that. But for the time being, let me just add the extra little bits that we're going to need to turn this into a JSON array. And that would be the brackets that surround everything. There we go. Alrighty, so it's looking really close to what we want. The problem is, of course, that some of my data has double quote characters in it already, and that's going to break the escaping, or rather, it's just going to break the JSON format. Those double quote characters need to be escaped in order for this to be valid JSON. And just to illustrate, let's go ahead and try to run this through one of the FileMaker JSON functions, and we'll see that we're going to get a parse error, just like that. All right, so what are we going to do here? We have these double quote characters that need to be escaped. It's a likely best bet is to run this whole thing through the substitute function and swap out a double quote character with backslash quote, which is what we really want. But of course, we don't want to affect these other double quote characters, so we need to temporarily change them to something else in order to protect them. And to do that, I'm going to define a reserved string. And my assertion is that this reserved string will never appear in any of the data that we're going to select. So you have to select a string like this carefully because that is the requirement. It can't appear in the data that you're going to select. So I'll take this reserved string and I'll put it everywhere where I was previously putting a double quote character. And I feel like I missed one. Let's see. There's one right there. Here's one. So our output now looks like this. And the result is that anytime there's a double quote character in this output, we know that it's from the data itself, and therefore we know that it's something we want to escape. Which means we can go ahead and run this through substitute. We'll even spell it correctly. and we'll be able to take care of the proper escaping of our quotes. And truth be told, it's not just the quote characters that we want to escape. We want to escape backslashes too. So I'm going to take care of that at the same time. We're going to replace a backslash. There are two of them there because this is within a quoted string I need to do escaping. And so things are backslash escaped when I'm typing these. Let's see, backslash will be replaced with two backslashes. And a double quote character will be replaced with backslash quote. I think I got that right. Let's see what that looks like. Alrighty, so we can see that our double quote characters have now been escaped properly with the backslash. If we were to have had backslash characters in these values, those would be escaped as well. It just remains that we want to go ahead and do another substitute to transform our reserved string back into the double quote character that we really want. And so we get this, which, let's see if it parses. I believe it should. All right, so we've got valid JSON now from our ExecuteSQL output. Our double quote characters are properly escaped. The next question that we might want to look into is whether or not things are going to break if we have return characters in the data. So let's take a quick look at that. Let's see, I'll go to this first record. I'm going to include a backslash too, just so we can test that. A couple return characters, some quoted stuff. How about that? And let's go back and see what this looks like in our query. So what's really cool is that things are all taken care of. My backslash character has been properly escaped, as have the double quote characters. And we'll see that for free, we got our return characters changed into the proper sequence of \r, which is something we got out of the JSON format elements function. It's what detected that there was a return in that field, and it changed it into the appropriate \/ value. So this is something that I would feel confident about passing along to another system as valid JSON.